Okay, so here we are, episode 1 of Art Traffic. We are at we are on Pico Boulevard in Los Angeles. We are at Brainworks Gallery in Mid-City. We are here with the owner, proprietor, director, and artist, Erin Adams, who also happens to be my big sister. Yay! Yeah, so thanks so much for being with us, Erin.
You're welcome. Very happy to be here, Thomas Adams.
Okay, so one of the things we like to do here on Art Traffic is talk about a little bit about the artist's background. It sort of just sets the stage before we get talking about art and career and stuff. And it's an interesting thing for people to know, kind of like, how did these people get started? How did they think these thoughts? Yeah. Okay, so when did you start being an artist? When did you know, maybe?
Well, I think probably the first realization was, I always enjoyed drawing and painting and all that good stuff, but as a little kid, crayons and that. But in my first couple years in Catholic school, I think I mentioned... But Tom and I
Irish
are
Catholic
from a very
kids.
large family.
Uh-huh.
Yep, there's 9 kids in the family.
9 kids.
I'm the oldest girl, and Tom is the youngest boy.
Bookends.
Yep. And artists. Bookends and artists.
Bookends and artists. Wow.
Isn't that interesting?
Our poor
I don't
parents,
think we ever
couldn't
even...
have been like a nun and a priest or
No,
something
that
and really
was
made them happy?
That was a possible thought.
It could have gone that way?
May have liked that to begin with, but
I think doesn't every Catholic kid think about it when they're like 13 and then they're just all, then puberty hits them maybe they're 12 or 11 and then puberty hits them and they're all like, yeah, anyways.
No. I don't think they do. No. I didn't think about it when my mom was like, maybe you'll be a nun. And I was like, no, I don't think I'm going to be a nun. So anyway, back to Catholic school. They had asked us to write a story about our summer vacation, which is appropriate because it's summer right now. But I decided that I had a really great idea, and I got a piece of paper, and I began to tell the story of my summer vacation, which was probably like, we built a fort in the backyard or something like that. But I told the story or wrote the story out in a spiral. And the story ended in the center of the spiral. And I was thrilled and delighted. And I thought I was a genius.
Which you are.
I am. And anyway, I showed it to the nuns and I got in a lot of trouble for that. Because you just were not supposed to do that. And no idea of like penmanship or writing on the line or any of that. No compliance. Yeah. So I got in trouble.
Nonconformist.
Yep. Got in trouble for it. Basically got my knuckles cracked with the ruler, which was a popular pastime back in the early 60s in Catholic school.
Children need discipline.
Yeah.
They crave it, as we've been told.
So anyway, bottom line is that was when I kind of knew that if I could deal with that and still want to be an artist, which I loved making art. So yeah, that was a thing. And for me, it was just as much, making art was just as much about drawing and painting and writing a story in a spiral as it was building the fort in the backyard and, all the other things that we were up to.
Yeah.
Running around wild.
Yeah. So, and then when you got a little bit older and you decided to get serious, what was that moment?
I think in high school, there were a couple of inspiring teachers. I had a ceramics teacher I really liked. I had a drawing teacher I really liked. I took photography. I managed somehow to get in the who's who of American high school students for a 3D room I created by taking photographs of all the things in the room and then putting them on foam core with little, pieces of foam behind them so they popped out. And I thought that was really cool. But anyway, really cool. So things, developed and I applied for art school in high school, and I was accepted at San Francisco Art Institute, but had no idea how to get up there or get a scholarship or do any kind of normal thing like have a job. I was still, babysitting money and helping out different, people who had kids to take care of, or I think I had a little job at a pizza restaurant or something like that. And it just wasn't enough to imagine how to move out and go to school. And I didn't have a lot of help from my parents at the time. They just were, had a lot of things going on with having 8 other kids.
Yeah.
So I got a job and I moved out, which was expected at that time. And it took me a long time to circle back around and be able to get to art school, which I applied for after I spent a few years in Seattle, and got into Otis Art Institute, Parsons School of Design in '83. So went to Otis, which was at that time in MacArthur Park, and many of the classes were on the street or in MacArthur Park.
Good times. I remember tossing horrible offenses to the making of art out of the 3rd-story window into the dumpsters below in the painting studio there. So there was it was a fun place. It was,
there was a lot going on. So we I loved art school. I was ready for it. It had been 7 years since I was in high school and was able to get back in. I worked my butt off, so I got scholarships, and that's where I got most of my skills, both for drawing, painting, and then also sculpture, which is eventually what I majored in. And I did a lot of more installation work and some film and video work, early video work, but mostly film, which we used to do on 16 millimeter or Super 8s, which we had actually played with quite a bit when we were kids at home. My parents had a Super 8.
We made some awesome movies.
Yeah. So that was the beginning of the background of art making. And then straight after art school was over, I got a job because I needed to work again and make money. The old theme of get out, make money.
Which is a big theme here on Art Traffic is side hustles.
Yep.
We're all artists, and it seems like we're number one all about our artwork.
Yep.
But we seem to be working for caterers, or we seem to be working for whatever to make everybody is bartending bar or doing whatever to make things happen. There's so many different ones. Do you have a favorite that you did?
When I was still in art school, I started working for a art director who made backdrops for music videos mostly, which was very popular at its beginning. And also, so I jumped in and did a lot of that, and then also began to do some art directing as well, and did that for a few years when I was still in school. And then after school, that was an easy transition into that work. I did probably my first art directing job was for a Playboy early videos that they did.
Oh, okay.
So it was whatever basically I could get a job doing.
Any industry, anything that involved using your art skills.
Let me do kind of anything, because I would have the art crew to help me figure out how to actually make the thing after I proposed some idea of what to do. But it was very low pay at that time, but very quickly became higher paying as soon as they saw that we were able to execute some of the more complicated things that we wanted to do. So
I hope I'm not out of bounds here. We can edit this out later.
Okay.
But maybe if I don't know if you're willing to talk about it, but if you are, I think you are, because it's a major part of your work. Also, at this time period, you're a mom too.
Yeah, my oldest son was born in 1987. So right after art school, he was born in November. I got out of school in June or whatever it was. So I had a few months off during the summer, which I probably remodeled something, knowing me, or something like that. So I did that, and then my son was born, and then boom, it was time to figure out how to be a mom, and that changed things quite a bit. I really needed to focus on that more and figure out how to do that job well, which is very important to me. Yeah. My sons, I have 2 sons, and both sons are adopted and biracial. So there was some, education I needed, and some time spent being a good mom and trying to do the best job that I could do. So I spent time doing that while I was also working, of course, because I felt responsible and needed to provide a good home and do my best. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
And by the time my second son was born, I felt like the film industry was too hard. So by 91, I was done, from 87 to 91, I was doing a lot of sort of music videos, art directing. I also did a lot of painting of murals and backdrops. So those three things have been kind of a theme that have run through my work from that time until today. I'm still doing some of those things. Not backdrops as much because digital photography came around and backdrops weren't really as interesting to...
It's all a green screen now.
Yeah. A lot of people... Now it's kind of like nostalgic. Every once in a while people will rent something or want something painted because they like that old school look. But primarily everything's green screened,
Yeah. Okay, so that's like the backgrounds and the side hustles and all that kind of stuff, which is just like...
That wasn't even the side hustles, but
no.
that was just a couple of them.
That was just a hustle. No, okay, so, but I think that's really important for audiences to hear about those things because when they hear, art's really difficult and especially like young kids, if some young kid might hear this podcast one day, I want them to not feel bad that they got to work at the Pup and Taco or the Taco Bell, whatever it is. You know what I mean? I just want them to be able to like go, you know what? You're an artist.
I always felt lucky because I was able to do something that was at least art related.
Sure.
So art directing, it's kind of like art. Yeah,
you're one of the lucky ones, for sure.
In any form of even painting a mural for somebody else, whatever, like clouds on a kid's ceiling. I could get behind anything because I'm lost in the, making of something, and I'm also learning every time I do something. Every single time I do something, even right now, after, since 1980s, early 80s, I'm still, pick up a brush, learn something. It's the best thing in the world for me.
Yeah.
And I think that I would be encouraged if I was a young person listening to this and feeling like, hey, anything's possible. You just point your nose at it and put your head down and figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so... shifting gears a little bit to your work as it is right now, and the other thing I really want to hear about, and I want everyone else to know about, is kind of like, what are the major themes that you're working on in your work, and where do you feel like it's going for you?
Well, let's see. For the first time since 1987, when my son was born, I'm come full circle and am able to make exactly what I want to make now, instead of, working for a paycheck and, making work that is for someone else. I'm able to make whatever I want to make. So I'm super thrilled and excited about it.
Yeah, it's
my sons are moved out. They've got their own lives now. That was a long haul, and I've never, been a super wealthy person, so I didn't have a lot to begin with. But now I've barely kind of like able to really do it.
But now it's time.
Yeah.
You have.
If not now, then when?
You're giving yourself the gift of the time to do it.
Yep. Yeah. So spending savings, spending
and yet
energy.
Your work now is a lot about your sons.
Yeah, well, that's something that I have. I like to do work that's, close to me.
Yeah.
And also I like to work around the theme of something, of artwork that looks like it was made in our time, like peace.
And that's really interesting, too, because your materials really speak to that.
Yeah, the materials
talk about that.
Are about that. I use... a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times I'll do work that uses street posters or street advertising as my canvas. So the background to things will be a collage of street posters.
And you can see this at brainworks.com.
No, actually, you can see it at either erinadamsart.com or Brainworks Gallery.
Oh, Brainworks Gallery.
Yep. Brainworks Art is where you see all the work for other people.com.
Okay.
So brainworksart.com
and then
is
also
the stuff we've been doing. Tom's worked a lot in there too.
Absolutely.
Over the years. And
Artsy too. Talk about how to find you on Artsy.
artsy.com, you'll look for Brainworks Gallery and find all the artists there. Tom is one of the artists. I'm one of the artists. We have a few other artists that are part of the regular gallery folk. And that's a cool one too.
Yeah. So back to your work and the major themes going on, the solo show coming up.
Okay.
Like, talk about that a
So
little bit.
I
And
have
what
a
the
solo
work
show coming up. Like I said, it was like I shot myself out of a cannon, I think, in January of this year of 2017.
Oh, again. The girl who
I
just takes
feel
on
like,
all comers.
No, you know what? I feel like if it's time to do something, just go for it. So at that point, I started a gallery, and I did it purposefully to learn a lot, as much as I could, about what's going on in the art world right now, but also to learn about that mysterious other side of the art world. When you're an artist and you're trying to figure out, how do these galleries work? You know, what do they care about? Why do they want me or not want me? I decided I'd just transform my space, which is a place I had rented as my office space storefront as, a gallery. So I started a gallery, and it was thrilling. I got to meet a ton of artists right away. I had a political show immediately after Trump was inaugurated. Met 20 artists in that show, and it just grew and grew from there. So the whole year has been about meeting artists, putting on shows that I think are important or interesting in some way or another, and building my own work up at the same time. So not look sideways, just look forward.
Yes, shot out of a cannon was appropriate turn of phrase there.
Pretty much. So anyway, I guess...
So what's the title of the one-man show that's coming up,
solo
and where
show,
is it?
The one-woman show coming up.
Show.
Yeah, one-person show. The solo show.
Just for listeners, she just gave me the side eye.
You can edit
really
this.
Hard,
have a good time with that edit.
No, we're not going to edit that. That's going in.
Whatever.
Girl.
I'm just saying, So because I had such focus and such enthusiasm and such gratitude and honestly, like, I'm seeing these artists coming into my own gallery who are doing great work in difficult situations, and I think, why should I not do the best work of my life?
Yes.
And I've got the skill set, which I've been working on since the 70s when I was in high school. And so by now I feel like I know what I'm doing and I can do this work. And so I got enough stuff together and showed my portfolio to the Los Angeles LGBT Center, which has got a gallery there called the Advocate and Goat Cheese Galleries. And they gave me a solo show, so I'm thrilled and excited to be doing that
totally
on September 16th, 2017. And as luck would have it, I was also applying to other shows and was selected by Leslie Jones from LACMA to be in the Brand 45 paper show that they have. So 45 years, they've been doing it every year, and one of my pieces was selected for that. So anyway, the street posters are then painted on with themes having to do with family or my sexuality, which is a lesbian, or, all kinds of different things that are running through my mind at the particular moment that I'm in.
Yeah.
So those are the pieces that are going to be in the show entitled The She Coyote of Los Angeles. And that'll be at the Los Angeles Gay and Lesbian Center September 16th,
Yeah, and I encourage people to go and find that show and that images of that painting. I think we're going to put up an image onto the Instagram too, so that everyone can look at it. So go and check that out right now. If you're listening to this podcast, they're amazing paintings. They really are. The coyote theme, just like the coyote theme, fits like so well for you. It's like that, like you were saying, like always forward.
Also, I think the coyote represents a kind of hiding in plain sight, stealth thing, and that's definitely how I felt when raising small children as a lesbian, or my children being a different race than myself. There's themes of, that running through the work as well.
And then also just there's a lot of city life imagery in the paintings too.
Yep.
What does that have to do, or how does that inform the work for you as far as like city life or architectural, or do you
Most
want
of
to
this
talk about
stuff is specifically about LA and different locations in LA, and some of it is like a montage or an homage to Los Angeles. I feel like it's one of the cities that are pretty rare in those early times that my sons and I could live fairly comfortably in a city, being who we are and looking different than other people, and maybe, just that I like that about LA, and that I wanted to also kind of note some of the locations were places that my kids and I frequented because they were like recreation centers or public spots.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And LA doesn't get, it doesn't have a reputation as being a particularly beautiful city. It's not New York. It's not San Francisco. As far as like they get all the love in that way, but you're kind of giving LA a little bit of that love. And
I picked some favorite spots for sure. And I think when you see the work, which I hope you do, that you'll, feel that way too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to end up with something that I hope to do some more of. If you were going to listen to this podcast,
which I am, of course,
who would you like to hear from? Who would you like to be on this show and kind of give their version in this format about their work, and you'd like to know a little bit more about them, maybe?
Well, yeah,
it doesn't have to be artists. It could be curators. It could be gallerists.
Yeah.
It could be anybody in the art world.
Like I mentioned, I've met so many amazing artists, and I'm so inspired, really, by so many different people. But probably I've gotten to be closer with Genevieve Gagnard, and I think she would be an incredible person for you guys to interview.
She's just fun to talk to in general.
Yeah, she's fun and funny and got great work, and people will want to know more about her for sure.
Yeah,
and
great perspective.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna have to record this over. I can't.
You know it. No, you know who I thought would be like fun and go way deep into your past. Didn't you take drawing with Scott Greiger at Otis?
Yeah, not so much. I took painting, an early painting class with him, but Margaret Nielsen is awesome and fun to talk to, and she would be a great person for you to, I mean, she's had a long career and like 30 years with the gallery in LA, and I think she lives in Ventura now, but she comes down every once in a while for different reasons. She'd be a fun person for you to, and she was one of my drawing instructors at Otis.
Okay.
So,
cool.
Yeah, I mean, like great teachers at Otis. Wish we could interview Mike Kelly like back in the day. He was a great person to talk to.
Yeah.
Miss him a lot. And then also, Lita Albuquerque's super interesting. At one class, she told us how she gave birth. That was in detail. It was the entire class. We were like, what? The length of the class about how that happened. And then Larry Pittman's a great teacher and also still in LA working, I know, as a teacher.
Yes.
Or I think he does a MFA class at UCLA.
Yeah, I consider that to be a side hustle, teaching. I mean, I know a lot of really prominent artists do it. Yeah. I know I get some flack for this. It's controversial.
Too,
there you go.
It's good for...
You got to have it.
Yeah, it's like things we need. Let's not get too high and mighty. Let's just make life work like other folks have to do.
And let's face it, like how many of these artists do you think would really teach? Like I think there's just a few out there who are like, the teaching feeds my work and it doesn't tire me out and I just do more. But for the most part, it's draining to be a teacher.
Yeah.
They have to get out there and they have to share themselves and their practice and their ideas and everything with other people all the time. And that takes something away from the energy that you can put into the work.
It's draining to do any other thing except for what
it's draining to do
you
the
were born
artwork.
To do.
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
I mean like
the artwork itself is like takes a lot out of you. Sometimes for a lot of people it's really emotional. For other people it's really technical. For other people, it's really mentally draining. You know, it's for real.
Yeah.
It's something that
have
I
to
believe
do.
artists really share with other people, and this is just me. We create a framework by which other people can feel comforted in the world, can feel compassion, can feel, a space to be more human.
Or they just can relate to it because they feel it as well. In some way, they're expressing themselves through cooking or whatever else that everyone does that we love,
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So, Erin Adams, Brainworks Gallery, thank you so much
We
for
did it.
being
High
with
five,
us.
Tom.
Oh my gosh, you're the best. You had to be the number one interview. You
I'm
had
the
to be.
number one.
You're the number one daughter.
Oh my
number one
gosh.
interview.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
This is
so many number ones.
I'm so honored. Thank you. Yeah, honestly, I am.
Yeah, thanks for being here.